All right. How's everybody doing today? I think we are good to go. So let me switch over to the right layout and we will get started for today. All right. Let me turn on. Everything needs to be turned on. Hey, Lizzie X Liz 0328 is here. Welcome to the jam stream. Hope your Sunday is going well. I am just double checking all the sound settings, so feel free to let me know if I need to tweak anything with my loop station audio. I don't have to tweak much settings from the last time I used this thing on stream. So we should have a pretty good balance of sound when I'm speaking. And I think because I upped the sensitivity on this mic, I don't have to get quite as close. But that also means I need to be careful when I'm making some of the more sharp noises. I'm not blasting everything into red line on my audio here. Lizzie says, I just got back from vacation. Oh, very nice. Hope you went somewhere fun and relaxing and got a chance to get some downtime. Vacations are important. Hey, Iconic is here. What's up, Iconic? How are you doing today? Likewise, I hope your Sunday afternoon is going well. We are just making sure all the settings are good to go before we get started today. Hey, Red Dragon's here. What's up, Red Dragon? How are you doing this afternoon? Or morning, or nighttime? I think you're ahead of me, so I think it's evening for you. All right, I think all of the settings are good. Again, let me know if I need to tweak anything as we go, but I think we can go ahead and get started. So what are we doing today? Today, I wanted to spend some time doing some beatboxing drills and practice, sort of the same early stuff that we did before. That'll be pretty much the same, practicing some patterns and routines. And I haven't quite figured out if there's anything specific for sound theory I want to get into today. I will leave it up to the folks in chat if they have questions as usual, and we can always stop and talk about things. Red Dragon says, doing okay-ish. Had a seizure around 4 p.m. today, and yeah, it's 10 p.m. here. Oof. I hope you are doing better now. Seizures are no good, so hopefully you're safe and everything's okay. I see Wazzy in chat. Wazzy says, tweak your butt, nerd. Hi, Wazzy. Welcome to the jam stream. There will be tweaking. Most likely. Okay, let's see. Sound levels look good. I think everything is set. So we'll go ahead and start off with some warm-up type basic beat drills that I normally do here, just to, one, help me get my face warmed up and kick things off here. And from there, we'll see what sort of happens. I'm doing a little bit more of a freeform thing today for the first part of the stream, and then I'll probably spend a decent chunk of time on BGM ideas and creation. I got some things I want to try and use some of the techniques we've talked about on the recent streams. Red Dragon says, lucky. Yeah, there was. Rip my tongue open again. Ooh. And that's rough. Take it easy, man. Don't push it. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Once again, like I've told folks before, and for newer folks who are tuned into the jam streams, feel free to stop me and drop any questions in chat if you have any, specific questions about beatboxing stuff or instruments, snares, or anything that I use, and we can always stop and talk about them. So let's see. I'm just gonna freestyle a bunch of more basic things off the top of my head, and we'll go from there. Switch. Red Dragon says, because of today's seizure, I have to wait another 12 months from today to try and get my driving license again. Oh, that sucks. I'm assuming that's kind of a safety precaution thing. Well, hopefully by the time you're able to do that again, you'll be able to nail the test and, get your license. All right, so let's see. Working through warm up. I guess we could do sort of a sound check update, which is something I do every maybe other jam stream or so when we talk about developing sounds techniques back on the sound theory side of beatboxing. And I kind of take an opportunity to talk with the folks that are tuning in about the stuff that I've been working on, different techniques and whatnot, and things that I've been trying to refine and develop, or new things that I've been learning when that's applicable. Red Dragon says, I dealt with it, or been trying for about 10 years. That's rough, man, but hopefully everything works out. Just be safe and take care of yourself. So let's see, we talked a bit about basic instruments. Usually we'll touch on things like specific instrument theory. I did want to take some time to do sort of a recap on the development of snares. And this is going to kind of come into play hopefully during the BGM portion, because I want to mix things up with the instrumentation that we're using to create the different BGM tracks. So when we talk about snares, and I won't spend a lot of time just breaking down elementary basics of snares, since we've talked a bit about that on previous jam streams, but the core set that I use for most beats, which you would have heard in the warm-up stuff that I just did, would have had our inwards K, the outwards K, PF snare, BGM or spit snare, the cough snare, which I don't use as much, but that sounds like and let's see, those are the main ones. You also have clicks, which can serve as a snare. It's like a and another one that I'm working on lately, which I'm hoping we can sort of work into more patterns and stuff, is the Rimshot, which is a cousin to the inwards K snare. Hey, Chorus here. Chorus says, it's learning time. That's right. Take your seats, students. We will begin the lecture. Rimshot is one I've been working on a bit lately, since it's part of technicality and part of technicality drills. And that's the one that sounds like very similar to the inward K, but no breath, and it's very sharp and short. Red Dragon says, would try to join and make sounds, but my tongue is, don't worry about it, Red Dragon. You might want to just take notes, and maybe next time, because if you cut your tongue open, that's no good, man. Just take it easy. So we're talking about snares for a bit, and I wanted to kind of go into some kind of alternate sound variations on the snare instrument, because that's what I want to try and work into some of our BGM beats later, if I don't forget. So I remember I have mentioned the PSH. I think that's the proper notation for it. PSH snare sounds like psh, psh. It's very similar to the PF, just using a sh instead of a f sound, and it creates kind of a more sharp hit, quick hit. And it sounds kind of like a punching or hitting sound effect too. You know, you see in video games or whatnot, and characters are hitting each other, and you hear kind of a that's where that sound comes from, and then you can use it as a snare. So if we were to take a example beat and do something like switch the snare or the PF snare out for the PSH snare, it'd sound like and by keeping it sharp, the psh, 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 you can also use that as a variation on a snare noise, and it sounds different in a beat. Yeah, Red Dragon is explaining ripping the tongue open during a seizure. That's oof. Again, be careful, man. Stay safe. Hey, Edward's here. Edward, echoing the sentiments of the rest of the chat. Yeah. It's no good, but as long as we're doing all right, that's what matters. Core says it's punchy. I like it. So another version that I don't know if I've talked about, because I kind of have a tough time explaining this other variation. I call it a punch snare, and I've heard it or seen it listed on things like a synthesizers, like a punch type noise. It's just different. So I'll kind of explain it and then kind of explain my rationale for why I call it this. So if the PSH sounds like a psh, this one is like a P and then a tongue roll. So it's kind of like a P plus tongue bass. And for folks who might not know what I'm talking about, in beatboxing, tongue bass is when you roll your tongue by exhaling air and keeping the corners of your tongue tight so that the air is rolling off the middle, and you get that rolling kind of flapping noise. It's the same sort of muscle motion as rolling R's in different languages. But if you use it in beatboxing, it sounds like... And so you can use it in beats kind of like a dubstep type thing. I've done it before where you go like a... kind of a messy but really distorted sounding bass sound. If you combine a P and a very lightly exhaled tongue bass, you get what I call a punch snare, and that sounds like... And you shorten the air a little bit so it's more of a burst. And so if you put that into our same practice beat from before, you might get something like... And so it's a snare with like a little bit of a vibration under it. And it sounds different than the other ones. It's not as kind of airy and sharp as the psh, and it's not as sort of blunt as the pff. And the more you kind of tweak it, the more you can get kind of like that more of a low end reverberation under the pff. And so I'm still trying to figure out how to use that. It's very kind of, again, messy and distorted, but putting that into something like a loop beat where you can kind of control the sound, maybe do something like up the reverb on it, something like... You can kind of manipulate how that distorted filtered sound comes out. And that's kind of the interesting part of doing variations on the different snares, because I tend to rotate between the main 4 or 5 that I know, but some of the other less common ones are also good to kind of just mix up. Of course, it says, oh, a new sound. I didn't invent that weird sort of punch snare. I've heard other people do something like it before, but it's not common. And so I want to kind of refine the technique a little bit and get it cleaner, and then start mixing it into regular beats. And then same thing with the Psh snare, because that one is very old. In fact, I think that one probably goes back to the very original origins of beatboxing, before we had things like the BGM or spit snare, or even the inwards K, which I believe was popularized by old school beatboxer Kenny Muhammad. But it used to be a lot more just breath and lip based sounds when beatboxing was very young and very new. And then as things sort of evolve, obviously you have more different weird techniques and things get introduced. Oh, of course, says, no, I meant like I learned a new sound. Oh, that's good. As I sort of introduce things and kind of explain different things, again, if you guys have questions on anything that I'm talking about, or want me to break down the specific mechanics of something I'm doing, just let me know and we can stop and talk about it. It's the whole purpose of the sound theory discussions. Not so much like a lesson, but just kind of an explanation about beatbox technique and different instrumentation things that I've been messing with. And then we kind of roll that into the ideas for BGM. Core Redeem Day Hydrate reminder. Yeah, one step ahead of you. It is somewhat warm and humid today, so I'm going to probably go through a lot of water again. Well, let's see. So we talked about snares. Again, the use of snares is going to kind of slot into the different technicality things, and I could talk a little bit about some of the progress and drills I've been doing for technicality, so I'll definitely kind of put a pin in that. I see Red Dragon has redeemed a Raku Faktu. Let me go grab the list. I need to add more facts to the list. fact, I will write this one down to make sure I don't repeat it later. I mentioned before on a previous stream that in addition to facts just about me on the fact redeems, I'm going to be adding in some lore facts about Homeworld to give you folks an idea of where I come from and how where I come from is different from Earth. And one fact that I've not talked about on Homeworld has purple oceans. And oceans aren't exclusively purple, but certain parts of the planet that are covered in water, depending on the chemical composition, the oceans are a kind of deep purple, magenta-ish color, which is very different. You folks don't have purple oceans here. All your water is blue. And that is a unique fact about Homeworld. Of course, says that sounds so pretty. It is, especially when you look at color contrast in the landscape. And so you folks can definitely expect to see more Homeworld related facts as we go. I'm gonna mix in facts about me in addition to facts about Homeworld. Red Dragon says, purple like your background? Yeah, I would say probably closer to the lighter end of the gradient on my background than the darker end. Edward says, I love lean. Don't do lean, folks. Lean is bad for you. Korass lean. Yeah, it's that mixture of like codeine syrup in drinks that people use to get high. It's very dangerous because you can overdose on codeine very easily. The rapper guys like to drink lean. Don't do lean, folks. It's addictive and it's dangerous. Unless Edward is talking about the dance, like to lean back, as popularized by rapper Fat Joe. That's fine. That's harmless. You can lean back all day long. But back to the discussion of beatbox technique and things I've been working on. So I guess we can talk about technicality and then we'll do some discussion on bass after that. So like we talked about before, the big sound set I've been drilling and trying to get better at is the TKK, the T-hat, just outwards light K sound with your mouth, and then Rimshot is the third part, the really kind of quick, breathless version of the inwards K. That triplet pattern, which I think you folks have probably heard me talk about at least 20 times by now, is what I've been practicing as much as I can. And I can kind of explain a little bit about what I've been working on so you can hopefully see a little bit of progress because I've been drilling this a lot. Edward says, lean is a meme, by the way, like Purple Guy from FNAF loving lean. Yeah, I do understand that it's a meme, Edward. I just have to be upfront about the context. That's all. At the end of the day, you can do whatever you want with your life. You folks are responsible young adults or young people. We will always embrace memes here, especially Morbius memes, which I don't know if Wazzy is still here, but I know those drive her up the wall, which is really funny. So if we talk technicality and drills, again, the triplet pattern for TKKs, like we talked about before, the point of practicing the pattern and getting it clean and quick is to be able to do continuous rolls and a non-stop pattern. So if we're doing it slowly, triplets back to back, you get like the repetitive. And what I've been trying to do is get better at it so that I can do it very quickly, and then I'll be able to slot that into beats. But one thing I sort of learned a while back that I've been trying to work in as well is just using the double K sounds of that triplet pattern. So the turns out if you keep your tongue sort of up against the side of your mouth in the position for the rim shot, and you don't reset it and drop it, and you keep it there, you can do the K rimshot sound back to back pretty quickly. And so let me see if I can do it by itself here. Normally it would sound like, but if you leave your tongue in that position, it becomes like, oh, it's very difficult for me to do just by itself, but get a, and it becomes a lot more rapid because your tongue is staying in one position. So when you add that into with the TKK in total and try and do that quick pattern, instead of TKK, it's becoming TKK, KKKKKKK, TK, and it's a variation, and if I'm not careful, I will mix them up. Iconic says, "Bout to morb." Course says, "What? But it's time to morb." It is always morbin time. So if I take that example and that slight variation on the double K pattern and put it into just the loop, the roll for the TKK, and if I try and do it quickly now, it sounds like, and for some reason, it's easier for me to do it with a kick on the front, which is why I was doing a, so it's B, TKK, TKK. And I've been working on trying to get that circular loop clean. So instead of just doing it by itself, which you're not really going to do in beatboxing, you would put it into a pattern. So if you're using it like a drum fill to fill in a sequence of a beat, you might get something like, it's a little bit of a messy example, but taking that kick, TKK, TKK loop, and putting it in between, you get it to mix up the sound that way, and that's what I'm trying to get better at, because just doing it repeatedly is still a work in progress, but I think it's getting better. So you may hear me slotting in that TKK variation into beats just for practice so I can get better at it, because it's supposed to sound sharp. It's not supposed to sound kind of like wet and like mushy, which when you're learning it, that's what it's doing, because that's the way the sound is coming out. But as you practice it more, the K, the big K, the rim shot, is supposed to be the sharp kind of pronounced noise in the whole pattern. So if you were to break it down slowly, it would be, which would be a B, TKK, TKK, F, TKK. But you should be able to hear the snares hit on each accented part of the triplets instead of just being kind of like a mushy, like sloppy sound. So I'm getting better at it, but it is difficult. But one thing that's been helpful is slotting in the TKK with the TKP, which is the one I already know how to do. So you might get something like, and so that's not a straight roll of just one sound set. It's taking the TKP and the TKK and sort of mashing them together in different orders. And that's easy for me to do now. I've been practicing the TKK so much. And so that's probably what you'll hear more often, just because it's easier for me to chain the TKP into the TKK and then reverse and flip around the order of the syllables. But that is definitely a work in progress. It's all muscle memory and just endurance and practice for that particular type of sound, just like all technicality. But the way you can slot together different sounds and, you know, rearrange them into different patterns is incredibly versatile. That's why I like working with technicality so much, is it's very, you know, creative and open-ended to whatever ideas you want to come up with. And so we'll continue to check in on technicality as we go. Maybe in the future, I'll devote more of a section of sound theory and discussion to the technicality sounds and patterns, but I'll have to prepare something in advance so I'm not just rambling. And then we can kind of do maybe like a notation guide where I try and teach you folks a pattern of sounds using the actual beatbox notation on the screen so you can see it. So that might be something for a future discussion. That way it's a little more organized and you can use it more like an official lesson. Let's see, anything else on technicality, I was messing around with a different technicality pattern I don't think I've talked about at length. I've mentioned on how I do it, but maybe we haven't talked about it really on stream here. And that's using the zip sound, an outwards K, and a kick as a technicality pattern. So it starts with the outward K, and then I won't say mine, but one of my favorite sounds, the zip sound effect, which sounds like, and you're stringing those together with a kick, and the technicality pattern sounds like kick, zip, snare, zip, kick. So it would be K, ZP, B in the terminology. Sorry, I had to think about it and make sure I'm explaining this the right way. And so if you do the in a triplet and you do it back to back, it sounds like, and it sounds kind of like a record scratch a little bit. And there's a whole bunch of different ways people will duplicate that sound in beatboxing. This is just sort of a variation that I came up with. Red Dragon says, well, I'm going to get some rest. Chat, see you all another time. All right, Red Dragon, take it easy. Again, I hope you're doing all right. Take a load off, and I will catch you in the next stream. But thanks for hanging out and chatting with us. So if we take the idea that I'm talking about with the K, zip, kick, triplet pattern, again, it sounds kind of like a record scratch-ish, kind of like a record pull, or like a vinyl scratch more type of sound. You can also speed it up. So the example I use would be a slower variation would sound like, but you can speed it up obviously and condense the sound set. So you get something like, I'm trying to think of how I actually use this one. Instead of just, oh, okay, like a zip double kick essentially. And so putting that type of technicality pattern into a beat, you might get something that sounds like, and so it's basically mixing up the kicks, zips, and double kicks in different sort of alternating combinations for that kind of rapid, really quick cutting sound. And I haven't heard a lot of beatboxers do that particular combination. I don't think I've made it up, but it's definitely one I don't hear very often. So I'd be curious to pick the brains of a pro, which I haven't done in a long time. I haven't talked to any pro beatboxers in a bit, but I'd be curious to see how common that is and whether it's a more old school type technique or something a little bit more modern and new. Because like I've talked about before, I don't see people using the zip at all. I've only heard one other beatboxer even mention it in a lesson, but I'm sure they're out there. I just haven't encountered them yet. So let's see, for the next part of sound theory and kind of the update on developing sounds, I guess we can talk a bit about bass and kind of bass development, experimental stuff that I've been working on. The big ones, obviously, for me, and we will discuss inward bass at some point in the far off future once I feel like I can actually do the sound. But for the ones I can do, the throat bass, vibration bass, and vocalized chest bass are the throat or song type basses, if you will, that are the main ones I use in different beats. And those are the ones I feel like I'm the most competent with to some extent. The lip bass beats like lip oscillations, I feel like I'm decently competent in those. There's not a whole lot to that technique, so you could practice it a lot and it's not really going to change a whole lot. The lip bass, the more tight lip vibration type basses, I've been working on a bit more. It takes practice to train your lips to get that kind of vibration and buzz, but lip bass sounds like you get that kind of buzzing noise. It's how you play brass instruments, actually. And I'm really not good at doing that on the spot because I use a sort of slightly open lip filter on throat bass, and that's how you get the. But actual lip bass, your lips together and they're buzzing. And I'm not terribly good at that yet because it's been forever since I played a brass instrument. But you can do a lot of interesting pitch harmonics type things with lip bass. That's why I want to get better at it. You could do things like making the lip buzzing sound and then humming in a harmonized or octave note on top of it or behind it, so that the overall bass is multi-layered and then it has different harmonics that combine with it, and it sounds really neat. Well-known pro beatboxer from the States, Gene Shinozaki, has a crazy good lip bass, and he uses it with incredible effectiveness. And I'd like to be able to do stuff like that for more of a melodic sound instead of like a more heavy aggressive bass drop type sound, which isn't really something you'd use lip bass for. That's really more of like the inward lip roll or lower throat based basses. Those are the ones you'd use for things like drops, dubstep type beats, stuff like that. And so for me, doing things like the really low inward lip roll sub bass, which you heard me do in the practice beat, I tend to use that for the more low end and heavier, lower stuff. And that's a really open, loose sub bass type sound. If I want more of a reverberation, I'll make it an actual inward lip roll and get like a. If I want it to go high, I'll do like a siren lip roll, which sounds like. I hear in my ear, Low Gamer 131 just followed. Thanks for the follow, Low Gamer 131. Welcome to the Space Bees and welcome to the Jam Stream. We are talking about beatbox technique, so I hope you enjoy your stay. And I see at perfect timing, core break, redeemed, drop a beat, which is not an inappropriate time for that. We are be dropping many beats today, but in honor of Low Gamer, like Core saying, I will freestyle something for you right now. Let's see. Make sure my reverb's not turned up too high here. All right.
Money on my motherfucking mind. Cop 5 haircuts at the same time. White gold pants, jet ski made of wine. Foie gras bust of Albert Einstein. Get money.
Oh boy, that's loud in my ears. I see Low Gamer 131 has subscribed. Thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate it. Core says, I told you he was good, I think. Well, thank you for being my advertising team, Core. But yeah, definitely appreciate it, Low Gamer. Thank you of the emotes. Still waiting for that enabling of follower emotes on the channel, folks. But as soon as I have that available, I will make sure and let everybody know. I have the emotes ready. Just can't turn them on. Edward says, money, money, money. I thought about doing the whole bit from the Whales song by Hail Mary Mallon, which is where that sound, that the sub sound comes from. But it would be really long alert, and I don't really want it to be annoying. But yeah, thanks again, Low Gamer. So that was actually a fairly good example of some of the bass type stuff I was talking about. And like I mentioned before, the outwards or throat or sung based basses that I do are the ones I feel most comfortable and consistent with right now. So to sort of explain again, real quickly, the technique, the throat bass is the one that's higher up in the throat, and it's tightening of the vocal cords and forcing air and the hum note to go through those, and you get a distortion, and that's how you get the if you take that, again, not breaking the technique down in tutorial mode here, but if you take that pressure in the throat and move it down a little bit, and then open the vocal cords resonate a bit. And to me, forcing the sound out of my nose is how I get it to resonate more. But if you drop that in the throat, then you get vibration bass, and it goes from and you get less of a buzz and more of a reverberation when it moves down, and it sounds like and using that example in the beat, you might get something like and then the third one of the sung basses that I like is the vocalized chest bass. And that one is a different type of technique than the others because you're not putting strain on your vocal cords and getting distortion. For that one, if you, and this is the demonstration part for folks who might be curious. If you do a really heavy sigh and let that sort of come from your lungs and low in your chest, this is a really good way to kind of explain it. But if you take a heavy sigh and just go, everyone's done it at some point, but if you focus it low, like you really push it low and you get sort of a rumble in your chest, that's what they call chest bass. And you make that sound go, but then you combine that low rumbling exhale with just a hummed note from your throat. No distortion, just a plus the gets and it's a distortion from the rumble and your hummed note that's different from like a which is the throat bass. And so vocalized chest can actually go much lower, which is why it's fun. And you might do something like and likewise you can go high with it too if you take that and go something like that. Let's see. Core says he also plays games sometimes and does tier lists. I draw occasionally too. Maybe once every other week. Low Gamer says I've seen that he plays games. Core says, Raku, do you rap too? I do, but not really on stream. I would like to do a help me write a rap song on stream sometime. Maybe as part of this jam stream format since it's the music themed. But if you want to see some of the projects I've done as fun little like silly challenges on the internet, feel free to go check out my Twitter. My Twitter has all of the stuff that I've posted that are like quick video shorts or like Prince Lemon's challenges or what Core is talking about there, where another VTuber I know that Beatbox has put up a beat and said, hey, take this, other people and content creators, and make something with my Beatbox beat. And so for a couple of his challenges, I took his beat and then I remixed it and edited it, and then I put rap lyrics over it. So if you want to see what that looks like, feel free to go over to Twitter. It's also on YouTube too. You can find all of the wacky stuff I post on YouTube or Twitter. And likewise, if you're a content creator that makes videos on YouTube, or you're a streamer and you want royalty-free background music to use, I occasionally make packs of background beats that I create, sometimes with folks here on stream like this, which we'll be getting to in the later part of this stream today. And then I put those up on my Bandcamp for free, and you can just download them and use them for content. So not to plug everything, but all that stuff can be found over on the various about things for the channel here. So with that, let's see. Talking about the real quick introduction on the basses. Let's see. The reason why I brought it up is because I've been trying to mix up different types, and then I am learning inward bass. So at some point in the future, we'll talk about that. And I feel like I'm better at doing the technique. And I've been saying that for about a year. So my goal is to officially learn and demo that technique before the end of the year. That's my goal for 2022. And I think I'm on my way. So we will get to that at some point. Edward says, that reminds me, I made a thing and used some of your BGM in it. Oh, cool. Was it for like a content project, or like a free time project? Either way, if you want, feel free to send me a link to it, and I'll check it out. But like Edward is saying, the resources for the BGM packs are there for content, and you can download them for free. I just asked that you mentioned that I created the beats somewhere. But other than that, you don't need to ask for permission or anything to use my stuff. It's just up there for free for content creators. All right. I think now we can segue into the actual loop station part of today. So let me adjust my mic and my camera so I can sit down. There we go. Oh, it's good to sit down. Edward says it was a clip of another streamer. Oh, okay. Did you put it on your YouTube channel? If so, remind me to check it out later. All right. Forgot to change my caption, but that's okay. We will change it now to BGM brainstorming. Edward says, yep, okay, I'll go and check it out later. All right. Let me make sure everything is set up here. So when we talk about BGM brainstorming in the loop station, for newer folks, let me explain the setup and what we're doing here, because all the hardware and whatnot requires a bit of an explanation, and then it'll make sense once we get going. So all of my sound inputs for my mic and everything that's feeding to my PC are playing through my audio device here, the RC505 loop station. And loop station is a device that does exactly what you might think based on the name. It allows you to take input sounds through a mic and stores them on 5 different quote-unquote tracks, and you can loop said tracks to create songs and different effects, instrumentation, things, filters, all sorts of stuff is built into the tools here. It's an incredibly powerful tool and widely used by a lot of the beatbox community. Just look up on YouTube beatbox loop station battles and see some of the crazy things the pros out in the scene do with this or the more recent iteration of the hardware, the Mark II. Some noteworthy folks would be Sorrow, MB14 Rhythmine from France, Bizkit from the States, Frosty from the UK. Tons of people in the beatbox scene take this, I want to say simple, but this piece of hardware and create some really crazy things with it. And so to demonstrate what I'm talking about here, if I were to take a real simple beat and capture it with the loop station, this won't be part of the BGM. This will just be for the example, and then I'll clear it off. But if we do something like... Not exactly the cleanest loop there, but I need to keep an eye on my sound settings real quick, make sure I'm not blowing your speakers out. This track that I captured, let me fix that. I want to loop a little bit cleaner so I can explain overdubbing here. Edward says, that face when it was Billie Jean the whole time. There's a pretty funny battle from, I think, 2017 where I think it was Sorrow did a beat using Billie Jean. It was pretty funny. That dude's a beast. He's one of the best in the world, in the scene for loop station. But let me try and get that cleaner because I want to explain overdubbing here. So if we go... That's better. So this is playing off of one loop in a continuous repetitive part. And what you can do using the loop station is overdub on the same track if I wanted to add an additional layer of instruments to this really simple kick and snare beat. So if we restart it here, you can add a hi-hat run on top, and it's just merging the layers together into one track. This is all just one quote-unquote track on the loop, and I don't think there's a limit to how many times you can overdub. I've never hit a limit. And so it's a pretty useful tool for just building, quote-unquote, building a beat when it comes to rhythm, instrumentation, all that stuff. Like I could double snares and add like a snap or a click snare to this, and it would sound like this. A little bit subtle. Now you can hear the snap sort of mixed in with the regular inward K snare. And what we'll do for the actual brainstorming is I'll sort of work through some of the other filters and commands. But if we go and add a bass line to this and put it on a new track, I'm probably just going to recreate Amplitune because it's easiest for me to remember. If I use guitar to bass, and add that sort of electric string bass type sound on a separate track. Now we have two instrumentation tracks, and this is again a recreation of one of my BGM tracks called Amplitune, which is one of my favorites. Hopefully you folks can hear all the parts of the stuff that I'm looping. Let me know if you can't hear it or if it's too loud. A fun thing to kind of show off. Using the track level effects as opposed to the input or individual tracks, I can do something like Transpose, which we looked at before, which pitches up different things that you're applying it to. So let's see. There we go. I I think it's getting a little bit of distortion from the fact that it's a guitar to bass, but Transpose is taking that melody and it's pitching it up an octave, essentially. In addition to that, we've used filter a lot for sort of transition effects. And let's see if we do this. You get that distortion on it. We turn that on and off. And likewise, there's a whole bunch of different track level effects and filters and all sorts of things we can use to affect the song, the quote-unquote song we're making. I like lo-fi too. It creates a fuzz effect over everything. It mutes out the tracks, gives you kind of a fuzz distortion. We've used that on a couple of the tracks before too. And let's see, I'll demo one more that I used on a couple things. Beat repeats. If you want to create a drop, something like basically it takes a small section of whatever it is you're currently looping, repeats it, and the more you turn up the input knob, the more it repeats, which is why you're going from 8th notes to 16th notes to 32nd notes and create drops that way. Of course, says dungeon intro music vibes. Yeah, that sounds about right. Again, this is a very simple version of an existing BGM track, but it's easiest to demo. And so that's a real quick, very quick and dirty intro into what the loop station does at a very basic elementary level. Again, I'm not a pro with this thing. I'd like to be someday. Explaining how it takes inputs and loops them over and over again. And you could do different things with the tracks. You could do different things with the instruments. Again, very powerful. And so we use this tool on these jam streams to come up with ideas for the BGM tracks I mentioned before that I use for different content, other stream types where I need background music rather than have to navigate the DMCA minefield. I just said, forget it, I'll make my own. And so on things like tier list streams, drawing streams, and other things where I need background music, you'll hear these tracks that we create sort of collectively as a group here on the jam streams. That being said, let us clear off our temp example here. If you want to hear a fleshed out version of what I demoed here, then this is the track Amplitune in Stream Sounds is the album for that one. That's where that comes from. So I wanted to experiment around a bit with some kind of more irregular rhythms because we've done variations on the tempo and rhythm I did just in the example. We've done faster, kind of more drum and bass, electronic. So I kind of wanted to mix up the rhythms and see if we can come up with something that's going to be different and usable for a BGM idea in the future. And so the idea I was kicking around, this is one I did think about before the stream today. I was taking an idea from an old NES theme, and we're not going to do like a cover or anything, but I want to sort of lift the rhythm and make a little bit of a variation on it. And I don't know the time signature for this one because I'm bad with time signature notations. I know Edward tends to get the stuff faster than I do. So if you can tell me the time signature for this one I'm going to test here, feel free to drop it in chat because it'll actually take me some time to dissect it. Maybe it's 4/4, maybe it's 2/2, I don't know. Half time, but the rhythm sounds like, and we could add like a double kick in between, just sort of mix it up. So maybe, we want to do a repeat. We can do triple kick. And let's get that looped in its basic format, and then I'll see if I want to overdub some additional instrumentation on top, but that's the rhythm I want to work with for this track. And then feel free to throw some ideas out on things like additional instruments or other things that we can sort of add together to create kind of a more developed track. So let me capture this one, and then again we'll make sure we have it. I'm gonna turn reverb off, and then from there we will start to build and see what we can add. So let's see. If we go maybe triple, let's see if I can get that to capture. A little bit too fast on the triple. And I need a little bit of gap on the tail. Yeah, okay. Edward says, sounds like regular 4/4. Okay. Iconic says, got to go. Forgot to do some chores. Thanks for the jams. Much love and stay awesome. All right, Iconic. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out on the jam stream today. I will definitely catch you in the next one. So have a good rest of your day and good luck with the chores. Okay, so let me see. I think I need to actually record the tail a little bit further out. So again, I did a little fast in the first couple passes. So if you want, so we're looping the final kick. I think it's technically in the next measure. So let me see if I can get that to actually loop correctly. Yeah, it's a half beat off. Unless that's an extra one. Give me a second, because this is a kind of irregular rhythm type. It might take me a second to get it to capture. Well, that you lose the triple, but it is cleanly looping. I think we can actually work with that. It's almost like a galloping beat. I know there's a word for this type of rhythm. I just don't know off the top of my head because I'm not a percussionist. So if we take this, and let's see, what kind of complementary hats can we add on this track in overdub? We could add a similar single note hi-hat run to something like, and not make it too messy. Edward says swing. It is kind of a swing rhythm, isn't it? That is true. I didn't think about that. Let's try a couple different versions of the hat and see if I can get it on the first try here. So we're like, or we could do undo, redo, and take that off if we want. We could do that. Is definitely more swing. This is gonna morph into like a pseudo swing song, I think, but that's fine. So if we went, get the fader down a little bit so that's not quite so loud. There we go. So if we take this is sort of the proto rhythm, I wonder if it makes sense to layer any additional accents to the snare, because we have just a simple PF on here. But if we added something like a click, so for a more snappy sound, if that would conflict with the sort of muted snare on there now, because we don't want it to sound too sharp. But I wonder what it would sound like. I can just take it off if it sounds bad. Let's see. I'm gonna take that off. It's not overpowering, but it almost sounds like a clap type noise, and that's not what I'm really going for with this particular sound. Core says, I'm finally back. Oh, is there a problem with Twitch? I haven't noticed anything with the actual stream, but feel free to let me know if you folks see anything, like if the stream starts stuttering or lagging. OBS is telling me that the connection isn't having problems, so if it's a problem with Twitch's platform itself, that's good to know. All right. Of course, says no. I think it's the platform. Okay, yeah, that happens every once in a while, unfortunately. So if we take our swing-ish rhythm, and I want to put a bass line under this one, just like we do on pretty much every track. The question is, do I want to try and do a more like kind of bouncy type rhythm or bass line? Because I've done a lot of sustained notes. That's my default go-to. I need to break that habit. Instead of just a 1, 2, or 3 note sustain, we could try and shorten it up so we have more of like a bouncy multi-note rhythm. And that might be different, since this is kind of a more bouncy, again, swing adjacent percussion line and rhythm we have. So I'm going to try and do that and see. This is not something I've done a lot, but maybe we can come up with something that'll work here. Let's see. I'm going to turn guitar to bass on, and I'm going to mess around with a couple different ideas, so you won't be able to understand me if I try and talk. Let's see what we can do here. Alright, let me turn dynamics back on. Edward says, this sounds like a stand-up bass kind of beat. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Edward. Again, keeping in line with the whole idea of elements of things like swing. So what I did was I added in a kind of bouncy bass line that goes up and kind of comes back down again. I do that a lot, but the rhythm is a little bit different, and then it leaves off at part of the measure before it reloops again. which I think would be better than just having it loop from the start to finish on just the notes. So it's kind of like a funky, like jazz swingish type thing. Which I think we can do something with that. So I'll leave it for now, and if we feel like re-recording the bass line, we can. But that rhythm seems to line up decently well with everything that's looping so far. And I want to mess around with pitch bend. We did this on, I can't remember if we did this on the last stream or the one before, but it creates that kind of B noise. That's what I like to call it. So let's see if we can add a third track. This will be a third instrument set in the loop, and see if we can get something that kind of complements this. So let me turn it on and then make sure it's working. This will be pitch bend and reverb, I think. All right, let me turn everything back on so I can talk again. So this pitch bend combination of settings, and again, I've showed this before, but I can't remember how far back it was. By doing just a kick type noise when that effect is turned on, that's how you're getting this buzzing sound. And chorus saying sounds like a bit like a bee with a trumpet. Right, exactly, which is very on brand for me, as we are very bee themed here. Edward says, you like jazz? That's right. So let me make sure the track level effect stuff is turned on. And then we'll mess around with this a bit. I was kind of trying to create the same note progression as the bass line, but then I figured rather than do that, I would create something that sort of takes that rhythm and then plays off a little bit, and it's not just an octaved, trumpet version of the bass line. Just to mix it up a little bit and make it so that there's a bit more variation in the sound type. All right, let's see. Oh, here's something we can try. Through verse. This is the buzzing melody in reverse. That's interesting. I suppose we could maybe mess around with having it reverse at some point in the actual song, but that's not what I was trying to do here. Track effects on all three. If we were to try and see what kind of track level effects we were going to apply to the song as it currently stands. Yeah, I don't think a drop would really work with something like this anyway. But what about scatter? That's not what I wanted to do. I may have just lost everything I was working on. Because I didn't save. I accidentally swapped tracks. Oh boy. I may have just lost everything we just did. Which one was it? Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. I think it was 15. 14. 13. I think it was 15. Okay. Oh, man. I was trying to swap to the other filter effect for the track, and I accidentally switched the loop station master track, which puts me on a different file. And if I haven't saved, it doesn't keep anything I did. So everything on number 5 is gone. And that is very disappointing because I really liked that track. Hold on, let me make sure I didn't save it further ahead. Nope, it was number 15. Crap. Okay. All right. Mental note, save more frequently. I guess that means we're going to have to try and recreate that swing track from the ground up. And I'm not going to be able to do it probably identically. But fortunately, let's see, we'll turn that down. Fortunately, I don't have to change any of the master sound settings because, again, I was using a blank track for all the illustration stuff. But that's a pretty good reminder for me to save more often. All right. Let's see. So we started with a swing type rhythm. So let's do that first. We did a swing type rhythm, and then we did the open hats on top. So let's see. We did like this is going to be a slight variation. It doesn't need to be exactly the same, but I do want to use pretty much similar presets for the bass, and I'll try and recreate the little B noise again. But first we need to do the rhythm. So let's see. If we did. Let's see, do I want to switch it? This is a little bit more of a simplified version of that rhythm, and it's slower. This one's a little bit slower in BPM than the other one. So we could try and do this. Now try and put the bass back. Go guitar to bass. Okay, that's the bass line. Now let me see if I can get the B noise back. I don't even remember the note progression I did, but we're gonna do a similar rhythm and we'll make it sort of mix in with the bass, and it won't be an octave copy. Edward says, "Can you go back in the VOD to check what it sounded like?" Yeah, I could, but it's fine. I can get pretty close. Everything we've created up to right now is pretty close. It's not exact. I can always tweak things offline as well. I won't waste your guys' time with that on stream here. All right, let me go to pitch bend and see if I can create the B noise, and then once all that stuff sounds good, I'll freaking save my work. All right. I think that's a pretty close recreation. Again, it's not exactly the same. The rhythm and bass line are pretty close, but the little B noise is a bit different this time. But that's okay. Like Edward was saying, if I want to tweak it in post, I can go back and match it up using the VOD if I really need to. But that's fine. Before we proceed, save this. That's the first time I've had my work get lost on stream. It's a little embarrassing. Well, fortunately, it wasn't catastrophic. All right. So I was gonna try and do scatter when I accidentally deleted my work. So let's turn everything on. Enable track effects on for everything. And if we're going scatter, okay. All right, so this is scatter at about 50%, and this is pattern 3, not 4. Okay. Okay, this is at about 40%. This is what I was sort of trying to do with this sort of rearranged, rechopped version of the entire song. And I have no idea what this does to the time signature, so don't ask me what it becomes when I do this. That's not bad, though. So this is what it sounds like normally. We turn it on. That could be a good way to bring in the second half of the track, maybe after some sort of transition in the middle, and bring in a slightly remixed version of the rhythm. So that's good. I like the way that sounds. I wonder what happens if we change the pattern from 3 to 4. Yeah, nah, I don't like that. This is using Transpose. If we wanted to change the key of the whole thing and pitch it up, we could, but I don't think that really works here. Edward says, I think the buzzing is a bit too loud compared to the rest. Okay, I have the other parts down pretty low. It's mostly so that the main track isn't too loud. But we can drop the B noise in the background a little bit, make it more subtle. I kind of like the idea of a real quick measure break with filter to cut everything out and make it go muted. I've done that on a bunch of these BGM tracks, but for this one, I think it actually serves the purpose if we leave it here and use that as a transition to bring back in the alternate rhythm with the scatter. So if we did that while it's playing, and then we bring in the scatter. Oh, whoops. Turn filter back on there. Okay, let's try that again. So, filter transition. Alright, there we go. Filter transition into scatter. I'm trying to see if I can get like a slight half beat shorter scatter, but it doesn't do it in increments that much, I don't think. Okay, this is quarter notes. Yeah, I think that's the only way I'm gonna get a variation on that. Okay, that's good to know. Alright, let's one save, updated settings. And let's think about how the song would be quote unquote performed. So I think starting off with the rhythm would be good. Maybe we can do both the rhythm and the bass line, since I tend to do rhythm, then bring in the bass line, then bring in the third track, whatever it is. Maybe if we flip the format around a little bit and start with both the rhythm, the bass line, and maybe do sort of like a dropped out version without the bass line for one measure, and then we bring in the B noise, the buzzing. So what would that sound like? If we start, it'd sound like. Now we bring in the buzzing. Bring in the filter. And now we have the switched up rhythm. Then go back to normal. I think that's functional. I may think about how I want to play around with the different sections that sort of switch around and then come back together to kind of form like the first half and second half of the song. But I think that's pretty functional. And I'll listen to the VOD archives later and see if I want to switch the melody on the buzzing. Edward says, would you be able to use beat repeat to make a 4-count intro? That is an interesting idea. Let's turn these off. I could, but I'd have to change the type of beat repeat that's being used, because what's creating the version you're hearing is scatter. Actually, no, I think you're right, Edward. Let me try. It'd be a different increment for sure. Let's see. Is this what you're talking about? So do like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go into the actual rhythm. So let's see. If we were to start from the beginning and go. Yeah, we could do that. That's interesting. I hadn't even thought of that. That's a really good idea, Edward. Okay. Let me think here. We could do both the bass line and the rhythm, do the 4-count. Do you think it would sound better with both or just the rhythm for the 4-count? Because I can do either just by turning on one or more tracks. So with the bass, it sounds like. And without it, it sounds like. I'm gonna have to be careful about where the bass starts. Let me try that again. Edward says, with the bass, it sounds like a Pharrell beat. That's also true. There is a problem here, so let me stop. If I don't have them starting at the same time, I need to be careful when I bring in the bass because it starts on an off beat, or it starts on an on beat, but it's got a gap in the actual loop, so that's why it sounds like it's coming in late. So let me see if I can figure out the timing. yeah, it's looping the back end first, which is a problem with loops if you don't record them exactly accurate in time. But if we bring in both at the same time, it won't be desynced. So turning on repeat. Oh no, it does still desync. Let me see if I can fix that just by choosing when I bring the loops in. Interesting. I'm not entirely sure why it's doing that. Okay, I might have to re-record that. I will put a pin in that particular issue for now. It won't affect how I actually structure the song, but let's plan on doing the 4 count, and then I'll see if I can figure out why the bass is desynced after I take the beat repeat off. So let's do a rough draft again. We have these two going, and then we'll bring in the B sound. We go filter transition. And now we have the remixed scatter version of the beat. And then for the outro, for the last half, or last part of the second half, maybe we have the beat play out with just without the bass line, and then right before everything cuts out, we do something like this. And then that's the end. I will have to give that some thought. The bass line, I'm still a little bit annoyed that it desyncs like that. We'll save this to kind of illustrate what I'm trying to solve here. If we play the beat, let me drop the fader down a little bit, and then we trigger the bass line to come in. Oh, hold on. No, now it's coming in fine. It's not looping the tail first. Let me try and turn on the repeat. Okay. I think it's because I'm doing one repeat into the other part of the loop, and it's causing when the repeat's coming off, then it is basically coming off in the last half. I wonder if I can change that. Okay. Okay, that's too soon. Also too soon. Okay, so 1, 2, a 4 count still comes in too far, and then the bass is desynced when it starts. What if we did 3? Oh. Nope, that still comes in desynced. Okay, I won't spend too much time fiddling around with that. I will think about how to fix that in the future when I do the actual recording for this one. So before we move on to the next one, we'll try and do 2 today. What do we want to call this one? I'm down for something B related. There's gonna probably be another one that we do that's from a previous session that's also kind of B related. But suggestions for a name for this one. Let me turn the whole thing on and let it play for a little bit before we move on to the next one. Maybe something with swing in the title. Or maybe something, yeah, swing. While we're letting it play, I'm also thinking just in my head ideas for a BGM track title here. Edward says B swing. Yeah, I was thinking about that, but that might be a little bit too on the nose. Because, again, we have a lot of B themed stuff here. I've done a couple tracks, at least one that has buzz in the title. I was gonna look up the Latin term for B so that we can use that instead of just regular B. Let me look it up. Let's see, Superfamily. Oh, these are big words. Halictidae? Halictidae? I think honeybees are in this family. Halictid. Halictid. Boy, I can't say that word. Corbreak said apis, like apiary. Yeah, that's possible. I think people can probably make fun of a name like apis. I like halictid. Halictid swing. Let's do that, and then people have to look it up. Corbett says, yeah, halictid is the the word for bees in the family of Halictidae. It's one of the major families of bees. So we did halictid swing. Yeah, you got it, Corporate. That's how it's spelled. Okay. Let us do that, and then people who don't know what it means have to look it up. I just thought of something funny we can do before we wrap up with this particular track. Let's do this. Now it sounds like a helicopter. It's too bad I can't put transpose and beat repeat on the same track effect, because if I could do something like have the repeat going and then use transpose to change the pitch and do like a Flight of the Bumblebee thing. But it's all on track A, so I can't have those two effects on at the same time, unfortunately. Corey says halictid copter. Exactly. Alright. Let us leave that track and move on. We lost a bit of time today because I had to do it twice. That's alright. Let the chat be known, or at least aware, that save reminder redeems are useful for this type of stream too, because if not, I will accidentally delete my work like I did on that one. So feel free to drop me a reminder every once in a while. And not right now, I just saved everything. But feel free to remind me to save, because, yeah, we would have been well into the second track now had I not deleted my work. Oh well, do you want to hear what the original version of the halictid copter sounds like? Feel free to watch the VOD later. All right, let's see. Let's save a new track. We'll put this on 21. Corbett redeemed hydrate. All right, I'll grab some water. Edward redeemed swear timer. All right. Corbrick says Edward, he never swears though. I'm pretty sure Edward just does it for the meme, especially since it's so cheap. It's really here to punish my co-host, because I don't have a swear timer plus like Wazzy. So whenever someone redeems that and I have a co-host, it applies to everybody, not just me. But we'll keep it on. Hopefully I'll remember to turn it off when it's done. All right. So we'll delete everything off of this one. Save a blank version in file 21. Core says a timer that means you have to swear and damage my pure say so brand. We can't do that. That means I won't be able to put the family-friendly tags in all my content. Not that I do now. Okay. We are on a brand new track. And now we need to come up with some ideas for a new one. So we're starting from the ground up. I will save periodically this time, try not to lose my work. So that last one was kind of unique. I like the idea of a swing influence song. So what would be a new genre to try, or a good one for this one? Since we have folks in the chat today, if you have any genres or styles of music to experiment with, then let's see what we can come up with for this one. Let's see. Core says dance music. Dance music is definitely doable. You know, like an EDM, techno-ish type song. Could definitely do that. In fact, we could do a couple different things with that. So let's start with we'll start constructing the beat in components. That'll be a different way, on a different approach for this one. The last one I did a rhythm and captured it, and then we did the whole thing in chunks like that. But if we do this one and we set the BPM with just kicks, then we'll construct all the other things on separate tracks and maybe try and use all 5 instead of just 3. So let's try and pick up the tempo on this one. So let's see. Okay, make sure I'm not too close. That's too fast. Yeah, that's probably better. This is 140 beats per minute, which is decently fast. We can supplement the kick with like a guitar to bass throat kick. So instead of just a regular bass pedal, it'll sound like it's a more full electronic, like the oonts in the sound effect terminology, as it were. Let me try in that. I'll turn guitar to bass on and see if we can layer in. This is just one measure, right? Yep. Okay. So let me try and layer in a heavier throat kick with this. Okay, it's a little subtle, but you should be able to hear kind of a heavier bass low end under that kick, and it's just there by itself. So following the methods of constructing things component by component, now we can do hats. And we're gonna do that on loop track 2. I think I'm gonna do hats and snares on track 2. So the way that works would be to take our bass and then we're going to bring in our kicks and bring in the hats on the offbeat. So like, and then if I want to double up on the hats, I'll do that after. So let's see, we do 2 measures. Let's see, we'll do it like this. I want to add a reverb to that. So subtle reverb. See, Edward redeemed another swear timer. All right. If you want. So let's see. Restart. Now, what do we want for a snare? We did PFs on the last one, right? So maybe we can do an outwards K. I think a BGM would be too harsh of a snare. Yeah, I don't know if I want that on like a dance type beat. We could do. That's a Rimshot. And maybe we can add some clicks on top of the Rimshot. I think I missed. We want to be on the same beat as the snare. still off. That's too loud. Get a little bit of echo and see if I can get the snap to line up. And now the snap is a little more pronounced on the second snare. I might be able to fix that here. I'd like it more if the second snap was a little bit less staggered, but I think it'll work fine for this. Okay, now let's think about a bass to layer under this. We could go for a more sort of distorted and kind of a dirty, like lo-fi-ish type of distorted bass. I don't think we've done that yet, at least not for a while. Let me see. Can we do guitar to bass and lo-fi? Let me see what that sounds like. I'm going to turn the effects on so you folks won't be able to hear me for a sec. Alright, let me turn everything back on so I can talk again. One thing I've been messing around with a little bit more that I've seen a lot of loopers do out in the scene is changing the sensitivity on the mic gain depending on the type of sound you're recording. And I think that's why I was having issues with the clarity on the guitar to bass. If I turn my sensitivity up by about 10%, then I can get it to record a lot cleaner and not get it quite so garbled. Because if you turn guitar to bass way up, it really gets kind of distorted, and that's not what we want so much for a bass line. So what I did for the bass line on this one, which is a little bit of a different approach from some of the other tracks we've created here on stream, I went high. I went for a descending bass line starting from a much higher note. In the past, you know, I'll start low and go upwards, or go up and then down and maybe sometimes go up high and then come back down. This one, I started high and just did a descending 3 notes, which is kind of a different feel. I don't dislike it. So let's see, what would be another good compliment? I'm taking a look at my instrument list here. I know Cora was talking about creating like a dance type beat, which is what we started with, the tempo and then the kick and the snares, or rhythm. But with the bass line, this becomes kind of a bit more kind of dark and brooding, which it's always interesting when the tone shifts. Why am I getting a bitrate error? My connection is dropping frames now. For you folks that are on the stream, can you see it stuttering, or are you getting a bunch of a lag or distortion? Because my Twitch page just said my bitrate took a dive, and we're not doing anything really that extensive here. That's weird. Let me try and refresh this page. Let me know if there's any quality issues on the broadcast. Edward said, try adding those double hi-hats you mentioned earlier. Which double hi-hats? Oh, let's see. I'm trying to think of the double hi-hats. Is it single? Are you talking about the like that? Like adding in another one in the beginning? As I was thinking about potentially doing like a hi-hat run. Well, let me refresh the page. My diagnostics here. Huh, alright. Yeah, it says it's back to normal now. That's weird. OBS tells me it's dropping 0.6% of frames as opposed to none. That's weird. Of course, it's not meant you lagged for a bit. It's fine now. Okay, that's weird. Maybe it's just a fart on the Twitch side. I was thinking about potentially adding a hi-hat run, but we could do it on the rhythm track. Let me make it a little louder so I can hear it. And then turn it on and off it under redo. We could do something like that. Let's see. Edward said like the... Oh. Almost like that type of sound, right? I could add a TSF like that. Huh. That's a different type of run. Let's see if we can do that. Well, that rhythm is definitely out of sync here. Let me take the bass line out so I can hear the rhythm a little better. We'll put it on a separate track and see if we can mess with it here. Okay, I was worried that would be in too much of a conflict with the rest of it, but that actually does sync up, We could turn it on and off. I think it's the clicks on the main rhythm track that are peaking a little bit higher than the rest of the stuff on there. I may have to play around with the balance for this one. The bass doesn't look like it's causing it to peak too much. It's the rhythm, which is fine. Alright. What would be some other potential effects? Let me look at my list here. We could do like I don't want to do a panning delay that really kind of distorted effect I showed you folks a couple streams ago, where you create an input and it creates that buzzing noise, and you can change the pitch of the buzzing. We've done that on another one somewhat recently, so I don't want to do that. There was I need to go back to some of the tutorials I was watching and write the instrument effects into my list here. That way I can just pull them up. Since there was another one that Brez used in his routine, one that creates that really kind of sharp synthy noise that I use to kind of go up. I don't even know what that's called. It's just another type of synth, but I don't remember how he did it, so I can't do it here on the stream. But we could, let's see, turn the rhythm back on. Look at my instruments here, or my effects. I could try something with granular delay, but I'm going to need to turn dynamics off. Let's see. I wonder what pitch bend plus granular delay does. I can't remember if I've tried that. Pitch bend is the one we use to create the B noise. But if we combine that with granular delay, I wonder what that sounds like. I'm going to turn it on and mess around with it, and we'll see what it sounds like. And I'll pop back on to explain what I do. Okay, I can't use those two together. All right. interesting. So Granular Delay doesn't really pair with a lot of sounds. I can combine it with Filter, which I've done in the past, to create that kind of chimey synth type noise. It requires kind of a specific setting, and you don't really have a ton of range with the melody and pitch you can do with that. It does create a kind of neat sound, and I've used it before on previous beats. But let me see what else we can do here. Because I would like to add some sort of additional complement to the track, because we have one open loop track on this one. We've got 4 in play right now. So let me see what else is on input track C, and we'll see if I can come up with something else. If you folks in the chat have any ideas for another type of instrument, melody, or something to pair with our rhythm and bass line, feel free to drop suggestions while I'm experimenting around here. Corebreak says violin. I am still trying to figure out how to create a violin type noise using a combination of effects here. I know you can do it. I can turn the timer off, but I have not figured out how to do that yet. As soon as I figure out how to do that, we'll definitely add that in here. Alternatively, if I get this entire jam stream set up outside of my room where I normally stream, I can hook up my full-size synthesizer that has a full set of instrumentation presets, and then we will just be able to straight up put a violin into the mix. So yeah, I would bank that idea, Core. And if I can't figure out how to do it using techniques on here, then we'll be able to plug it in at some point. If I had room in my room where I stream here, I would have the synthesizer hooked up, but it's big. It's like 6 feet long. It's a massive synthesizer. Edward says, what would it sound like with the panned reverb? There isn't a panned reverb. Well, I could do a pan effect and reverb at the same time, but there isn't a combined instrument for that. There's pan delay, if that's what you're talking about. Let's see if we turn it on. Pan delay, like it sounds like it takes the sound, bounces it between the different channels, and then adds a delay on it. So that effect is interesting. Now, if you're talking about adding an effect to the whole track, we can definitely do that. So if we did that, it would sound like this. I think if we were going to do this for an effect, we would want it to be on just one instrument, like just the rhythm and not the bass line. That is an interesting idea, though. Edward said, I meant what would Granular Delay sound like with it? The problem is you can't combine panning, delay, and granular, I don't think. Hold on, let me look. I might be wrong. Oh yeah, you can. They're on different tracks. I guess I can see. I have to turn off dynamics in order to turn granular delay on. But yeah, let me try. And I'll create some sounds and we'll see what it sounds like. sec. Let me try and turn it off. There we go. Okay. Alright, I have to reset all of my mic boost stuff at the same time because it's both the EQ and the dynamics track I have to change, so 1 second. Alright, now everything's back on. You should be able to hear me fine. So that's actually a really interesting combination of effects. So the reverberating kind of like rattling distortion is coming from the panning delay. I don't know if Granular Delay is really doing a whole lot, but it's adding kind of a more high-pitched electronic beeping, like kind of like a sine tone almost, or like a really high tone in the back. And it sounds really kind of weird, but if we could find a way to harness that sound and then use it to create some melody type things, I think that would be really powerful and useful. Edward says, Revenant's Beats moment. Yeah, we could probably adapt that into something for the spoopy, more like atmospheric and weird sounding tracks. I'm gonna have to think about that. Let me check something real quick. Okay, yeah, so the panning delay and granular delay can be paired together because they're on input tracks B and C, input effects B and C rather. We can't combine it with guitar to bass or any of the A inputs, but that's interesting. I may have to mess around with that for another beat because we could create some kind of fun stuff with that combination of effects, I think. Capturing it in a loop would be difficult, especially if we're trying to do individual notes, not sustained kind of melodies with that really weird electronic sound. But we could. What I've seen people do, and I need to learn how to do this, is they'll basically create a sequencer type of effect where they record one note, stop it, re-loop the overdub, record the next note, stop it, and then they'll do that for like 4 tracks, and you get a run, like an arpeggiated run or like a sequenced run, using different instruments like that, and they create the whole rhythm on a single track like that, and it's going to run through like a note progression and loop. It's really cool, and I need to learn how to do that. But if we did that with the combination of granular delay and panning delay, that might create kind of interesting sound. Maybe something similar to like a chiptune noise, which I've been trying to replicate forever. So I definitely think that would have potential. Real quick, I'm going to go refill my water bottle, and then we will sort of wrap up for today. I'm going to let the track sort of play that we've got so far. I'll be back in 1 sec. All right. I have returned. Of course, said Raku disappeared for a second. Oh, did my model just vanish all the way off the screen? Normally it just goes to sleep. I'm not in front of my camera. Don't worry, nothing to see here. Okay, so I think what we'll do before we completely wrap up is let's see if we can come up with a good combination of effects to use on this beat. And then I'll think about whether or not we want to revisit this one in the future and maybe work in some other instrument sets or ideas. The bass kicks a little bit higher in the mix. The snaps or clicks on the main percussion track is hitting the highest level of audio, but that's okay for now. I was experimenting around with potentially putting a drop sequence in this one. Don't know if I want to necessarily do that. It's not exactly a super heavy-ish type sound. What about a scatter? This is with scatter, and it doesn't really do a whole lot unless I turn the effect all the way up. So at 50%, it just kind of doubles the beat like a repeat does. But when I turn it all the way up to max, then it shuffles it around. Yeah, what about 3? Well, that makes it like an offbeat. That's definitely not what we want. Oops. I just switched in files again. Oh man, did I not save a single time while I was working on that other one? I could have sworn I saved at least once. Let's see, we were on... Nope. Pretty sure that was 21. Yep. All right. It's clearly a sign that we're done for the day. Wow, that has never happened on stream. I did it twice in one day. Frick, I could have sworn I saved at least once on that one. But nope. Track 21 is empty. I accidentally moved to 22 and I'm trying to switch effects again. Edward says F squared. Of course, is F cubed. Yep. Sorry about that. I will have to go watch the VOD and recreate that one. That is incredibly embarrassing. But fortunately, I can look at the archives and at least see what we did. But that's a problem. I'm gonna need to be a lot more careful about that. And all the time I've been streaming, I could have sworn I saved. I don't think I just. No, I didn't save over it. If you just migrate to a new file, it just disregards everything you were doing. Core says, it's okay. Sorry, I thought I threw in a save reminder. Oh, don't worry about it, Core. You did on the last one for sure. But, okay. That's fine. A little bit annoying, but we didn't lose anything catastrophic since that one was kind of an experimental sound. I'll try and recreate something really similar, and then maybe I can add some things to it too. Edwardine swear timer 100. I'll put it on for the last chunk here. That is annoying. But at least we have our previous one. Which one was that on? 16? 15. Yeah, at least that one survived. Ugh. Okay. Guess I got some homework to do for next time, but that's all right. Before we wrap up, let me put a real quick background beat while I look and see if anybody I know is online at the moment. This one I won't save to the file, but rather than just have it be dead silence for a few minutes, let me do that. Let's do, how about this one? We can loop a little bit better. Okay, not perfect, but that'll do for a second. Let me see if anybody knows online we can raid. Oh, let's see. Otter's online. Zekos is online. Erin Dwight is online. You can go raid her. Erin is playing Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. So we'll go ahead and do that. Ended up not needing that beat as long as I thought. Before we go to the outro, thanks again, folks, for tuning in and hanging out. I am sorry I deleted my work twice. That is very embarrassing, but I will try and do better next time and save more off. Oh well. Well, we'll go to the outro, and let's go raid Erin. Once again, appreciate you folks hanging out today, and I'm still figuring out next week's stream schedule, but that will go up on Twitter for the end of the day today. I think we'll probably be doing Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday again. That's the plan for now. I need to coordinate with some folks. We'll see what's on the docket for next week. But that being said, let's go raid Erin White. I'll catch you folks in the next one. So have yourselves a good evening.